Hi, I'm Yegi. I'm an entrepreneur and success coach who wants it all. Family, luxury, career, and the freedom to do whatever I want, whenever I want. And I'll do whatever it takes to get there. I created the Yegi Project to document my journey and inspire others to do the same. My mission is to change the world by influencing and leading others to do what they love and live fulfilled lives. Hello. Welcome back to the Yegi Project. Today's honored guest is Grace Redman, and I'm so excited to hear her story and get to know what is she about, what does she do, where did she start, and how did she get here. So without further ado, Grace, please tell us, who are you and what do you do?
Hello, Yegi. Thank you so much for having me. So I'm Grace Redman, and I am an entrepreneur. I have been the owner and president of Stansbury Staffing here in the San Francisco Bay Area for the last 26 years.
Wow.
Thank you.
That's a long history for a business to be going strong. So congratulations on that.
Thank you. Thank you. And I'm really grateful that last year we were named top 5 women-owned businesses and top staffing firm in our area. And we've constantly been, a 5-star rated year after year. So it's been an incredible journey. And 10 years ago, I started a coaching side of the business because I loved coaching my candidates and clients so much through Stansbury Staffing. It just felt like the next natural progression was to start, a coaching side of the business. And I'm also a mother and a wife.
Nice.
And so I've navigated raising a family while also building a business. And, the business that I'm in, like most businesses, is a very challenging business. I was able to thrive through 5 economic crises and the pandemic. And it's really I think that really helped build my resilience and my confidence. If I could make it through that, I could make it through anything.
Oh, I definitely could see that. It is a big hurdle to go through, and especially when you do get on the other side, it boosts your confidence. Like you said, you could definitely know even the worst case scenario where things have to shut down, you definitely will find a way and
Yes,
everything will be okay.
absolutely.
So take us back a little bit. I know from your history, you at one point, or when you were a teen even, you got really interested in personal development and success. Did any specific events in your life trigger that, or how did you even get started on kind of reading and researching and really get into that?
That's a great question. Well, when I was 19 years old, I found myself on the sidewalk feeling, defeated, depressed, and devastated because the boy that I had been dating just hit me and threw my keys on the roof of the office building. And so, there was no one to turn to because you did not go to your parents or anyone else, at least in my community. That would bring shame to myself and the community. So there was a small voice inside me that led me to seek professional help. And so through the Catholic charities, I was able to receive therapy for students. And at the age of 19, that led me to begin my self-development journey. And I saw the same therapist on and off for 25 years. And she admitted to me that when she first met me was when I was 19 years old, she felt that there was no more hope left for me. And so I'm here to share that despite our circumstances, we can absolutely achieve and create the life and business that we love.
Wow, that's so empowering. And I'm so glad you seeked help. And for our listeners out there are resources out there, even if you do not feel like you can talk to your friends or family. And I'm so great you were able to find a place where you felt comfortable to share. After that event, you started really getting into learning about self-development, success, that you could count on yourself, you could do what you need to. How did the entrepreneurship come in mind? Did you end up going to college? Did you work for another company? What was your journey like before you said, okay, well, I got this. I'm going to branch out on my own?
Great question. So I really was motivated to be an entrepreneur and have my own business because I wanted the flexibility, freedom, and autonomy to run my own schedule because I wanted to raise a family and I didn't want to be tied to a corporation's timeline or their income ceiling. Because as an entrepreneur, we create our income ceiling and we have flexibility for our schedule. Now, it's not easy, as an
That
entrepreneur.
was going to be my next question. Did you actually find that flexibility from the beginning, or what was
Well,
the reality of being an entrepreneur versus what you thought it was going to be?
yes. So, yes, you do have flexibility because I was able to drop my children off at school. However, I would pick them up, come home, do what I needed to do, and then I was working till 1 o'clock in the morning. So, yes, there was flexibility. However, as an entrepreneur, this is my experience, it's 24/7. I mean, I've been an entrepreneur for 26 years, and yes, I've traveled and have, taken time off. However, you really it's 24/7, 365 days a week. You have to set your boundaries to find that time for yourself. It doesn't stop.
Yes, but I feel like the big difference is if you are starting or running your own business, or at least have a leading position where you're really getting joy out of that, you don't mind putting in all that work. You don't mind being on 24/7 again, but boundaries are very important for me. I've learned to just fully disconnect from my business. But yes, you're right. Never, like if anything urgent happens, you have to be there. There's no one else who's going to care as much as you do if it's your business.
And I've been extremely grateful that I have an incredible team that I can lean on, and they've been with me for quite some time. And you're right, I make the choice not to turn off because I'm constantly thinking of, the next project. As a business owner, it never stops. You're constantly, things are changing. You have to reinvent, your processes. You have to reinvent yourself. And you're right, the boundary is you have to, like, yes, I do disconnect. However, if I'm transparent, oftentimes I'm still thinking, what do I want to write about next week? What do I want to, share about this week?
Yeah. Now, we talked about some major, life events in the world that was out of your control for your business. Can you focus on one or two of those and what it was like for you at the moment and what you did to get through it?
Yes, it's funny because I just posted a blog today on how I went from desperation to determination. To
Oh,
be like that, I experienced, one of the worst financial crises in the business to date. And I woke up on January 2nd and walked into my office and we had zero billing, which I had
mm.
never experienced that, or close to zero billing. And in 2008, we had a very successful year in one pillars of the business, and I'm grateful for that. However, to walk in 2009 to almost no billing after having the high of a peak year was devastating for me.
Oh, I can only imagine. It's very fun growing a business and seeing things climb, but the other way around, it's heartbreaking.
It is. It was devastating. And I've also learned the hard way that there are peaks and valleys in every business. That's just part of business. And so after I cried and I felt sorry for myself, I knew that I didn't want to play the victim, and I made a mindset shift. I began to focus because I was not the only one struggling at that time. We were all going through an economic crisis. So I shifted my focus from feeling sorry for myself to how can I help others that are going through this challenge. And I also focused on my self-care. So I focused on helping others and taking care of myself. Believe it or not, at the end of the year, my accountant was surprised. He couldn't believe that we made it out in the black. Now, again, our numbers didn't match any way the years before, but he was surprised that we made it out.
Well, yeah, because a lot of businesses did go out of business
Yes,
after that crash and again after COVID as well. So even just surviving or finding a way to restart in a way with the business was very, very impressive. So
thank
that's
you.
probably why your accountant was like, "Whoa, what did you just do?"
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And, and we're going through a cycle right now, in my industry. And the way that I'm handling, I'm not going to tell you that I didn't, feel bummed. Of course I do. No one ever wants to have their business, drop. However, because I've already been through the pandemic and, five other economic crises, I know no matter what, we're going to be fine.
Yes, it's a season. We just really have to get through it.
Yes.
Now, with your company, mainly the staffing agency, well, can you, for our audience who don't really know what you do exactly, can you kind of give us a breakdown? What is your role like? What is your personal day-to-day? How is your team run? How can the audience network with you or your company in order to benefit them and you as well?
Yes. So what we do is we work with corporate clients who are in need of to hire, professionals. And our core competency is administrative support. So we place, executive assistants, office managers, HR professionals, marketing professionals, and we work with the talent. So the client pays us, and then we place the professionals. So candidates come to us and we help them understand what they're looking for in their next position, help them with their resume, also do career coaching. And that's how the coaching side of the business started, is because
Oh, wow.
I enjoyed coaching the candidates and seeing them flourish and blossom, because when you're looking for a job or you've been laid off, it's a challenging time. And so helping them through that and then seeing them flourish and receive offers is what
Yeah. And
motivated me to
placing
start the
them in the
business.
right company. So you're basically
Yeah.
a matchmaker for um,
Yes.
for talent and employment.
Yes, exactly. I mean, I don't know if I could say this, but my husband used to say, "You're a pimp."
Well, it is. I mean, it's necessary, like you really take the time to know your clients, your talent, and then you know the company so you can fit them in the
Yes.
right area. So it is very, very important. And I think a lot of small businesses or even mid-sized businesses sometimes don't take advantage of agencies. And it's great to talk about it so people can
Thank
know,
you.
hey, this is an option. You don't have to
Yes.
go through, because I made that mistake starting out. I had to go through so many employees in order to find the right fit because I was just not experienced in that area. So it's I've learned the best, I think, advice I can give, and I've learned, is that really like ask for help, hire for help, find the right resources.
Yes.
Don't try to figure everything out from scratch on your own.
100%. I'm confident to say it will be very challenging to be successful and sustain your success if you think you can do it all alone.
Yeah. Awesome. Now, my next question to you is a little bit of a fun question. Actually, before we jump into our fun questions, I read about your why. So you love telling stories, and you believe everybody has a story, but you also
Yes.
believe everybody has a why. And I personally think that why is really our driver and what makes us successful, or what inspires us even when we don't have the motivation to get up in the morning and work hard. Now, can you share a little bit, what is your why, like that phrase, what does that mean to you? And how can other people try to find their why?
My why is being able to reach my God-given potential. And I continue to push the envelope. And I believe it's to really educate people and help them realize that they can do, be, or have the life and business that they love.
Okay.
And for my family, so I can be an example of what's possible for my children, for my future grandchildren, and my family and my community, because oftentimes we idolize, people on TV, which there's nothing wrong with it, but we miss the people in our community. And so, like yourself, I'm sure you inspire so many young women, young entrepreneurs, and they look to you. And so that's my why, to continue to reach my potential, not
Thank you.
only for
Yeah.
myself, but for my family, and to be
It's important to have somebody relatable, to see she could do it. I could do it too.
exactly.
I've heard that a lot. Honestly, people have told me, you kind of opened up my eyes of all these
Yes,
possibilities. And before that, I didn't even think about, those
yes.
options. But now that I know, I want to do it, or I want to have it, or I want to work harder.
Exactly. And so that's my greatest why. Those are my whys.
I love that. Now, how can somebody try to kind of figure out their why? So recently, though, I've been also speaking to a lot of people, because now it's also trendy, right? Become an entrepreneur, do your own thing. Like, it's almost trendy, and everybody technically wants that, but it's not the right fit for everybody, first of all. And second of all, I don't think anybody could be an entrepreneur just because they want to have the flexibility and make a lot of money. That's not a great reason. But a lot of people do start off with that approach. Okay, I heard this business is doing good or it's a great investment. I want to start X, Y, and Z business because that's what I heard. It's a good investment. There's good returns. What would you advise to the person who does kind of want to fulfill like their entrepreneurship dream, but stay true to their why? How can they kind of align that?
That's a great question. Now, there are many entrepreneurs that I know that have tried several different businesses, they failed, and then finally something clicked for them. Finding something to align can take time. What I would recommend is staying committed and consistent to your vision. Why do you want to be an entrepreneur? Being really clear about that. And here's the other truth. Success does not come overnight. It takes
Yes, it really doesn't.
It doesn't. It takes commitment, consistency, it takes massive action. And like you were saying earlier, they're hearing about this type of business and this type of business is doing well. So where people fail, which I believe failure is feedback, but where maybe they may not be able to be successful as an entrepreneur is when they're chasing the next big thing.
I
You
see.
can't keep chasing the next big thing. Pick something, like you said, that aligns for you and stay committed and consistent and take massive action on that piece. Now, if you get to a point where you feel it's not the right fit, that's different. But you have to also be, get clear. Is it not the right fit, or are you discouraged and you don't want to move on?
Yes, that's a great point because a lot of times we do get stuck, and I think that's what makes us discouraged. And that's where, like you said, the why. I think the why really comes in handy because if it is aligned with your why, and you know clearly why you're doing this, you're gonna be more likely to get through that roadblock or to get through that hurdle or that
Yes.
something that's holding you back. So I think talking about or figuring out your why with the coach is really important.
Yes. And also, of course, we want financial freedom. That it was very big for me, financial freedom. And I love money because it gives you the opportunity to give back in different ways and you have freedom. It doesn't buy you happiness. You still have to do the work. However, if your only focus is money, I'm sorry.
Yes.
It's not going to sustain you.
Now, you talked about doing a lot of work and working on yourself. And one way you did work was reading a lot of self-help books that are focused on the money and success area. Is there one book that was your kind of like aha moment that changed your life in a way or opened up your eyes when you were younger?
Yes, because I was just talking about that this morning because one of my colleagues shared that one of his favorite books was Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill.
Oh,
And
I actually have not read that one.
I love it. And one of the books that really influenced me was by Napoleon Hill, and it was Think and Grow Rich.
Okay,
And
yeah, that one I've read.
right. And so, and it really isn't about money. It's about how to live your life, how to move in the world. And it was just about principles of how to
Mhm.
be. And then you'll grow rich in all of the areas of your life.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Well, I'm glad that's one of your favorites. It is a great one.
Right.
Now, what is one thing that most people don't know about you?
Oh, well, one thing that most people don't know about me is that I'm a live kidney donor, and I donated my kidney to one of my cousins who needed a kidney, and that was back in 2000, June 2006, so almost 20 years ago.
Oh, wow. What made you be brave enough to do that? How was it like not having a part of you? Did you feel
Yeah,
any
no,
different?
I never felt any, and sometimes I forget until when I see someone, and where I used to see people like, "How are you?" I'm like, "Fine." Why? They're like, "You only have one kidney." I said, "Oh yeah." Um,
And that's all
you,
I need.
yeah, that's all I need. To be transparent, that was really a very spiritual experience.
Oh, wow. Okay, please share.
Okay, so I'll never forget the moment I was standing at the sink. I was washing dishes, and one of my relatives said, you know, please don't say anything, but so and so, I can say his name because it's public information. Paul needs a kidney. And I said, wait, what? And in that moment, I had just this feeling come over me. And she said, they need people to test. And I said, I'm going to test. She
Oh,
said, you
my,
can't.
that gave me goosebumps.
Right? I have goosebumps now. I'm getting emotional. And she said, no, you can't do that. You have young kids. And I said, no, I have to do this. And literally, Yegi, it was spiritually led. Like it was just
You
a
just
knowing.
felt it. You had the calling that you had to do it.
Yes. And so the beautiful thing is, I mean, he's doing amazing, and I'm actually going to his fiance's bridal shower this Saturday, and he is getting married,
Congrats.
and they're both beautiful. They're a beautiful couple, and so yeah, that's been was an amazing gift to give
I love that.
and to receive.
I mean, satisfying, not, I don't know what the right word is, like rewarding feeling to see somebody flourish in their life because you decided to sacrifice and give a piece of you, you know? It sounds logical and easy, but I'm sure when you're put in that situation, it's a hard decision to make, and it takes a really selfless person to do that. So I'm glad I was able to hear that story through you and kind of lived it throughout your story, because it's nice to have that feeling of, hey, I could make a difference even in a very specific way, but in a way that you may not even think that, but you're changing his life and now his fiance's life, their future kids' lives. You know, it has such an effect when we actually do something selfless for someone else. So I love that story.
Thank you. And I always told him, like, he gave me the gift, really.
Yeah.
He gave me a gift to be of service, in that way, and to witness his success and flourishing. So thank you.
That's beautiful. All right. So next fun question will be, if you can change one thing in the world with a magic wand without overthinking it, what would it be?
Peace, sister, peace. Being a Palestinian American, it's been challenging to witness, so much war and destruction. And so I wish peace to our world.
Yes, that would be nice. So everybody can really focus on their success and happiness without having to be interrupted against their will.
Yes. So to everyone, to anyone suffering and struggling with war, in conflict, I would just love to see a peaceful world.
Yeah. Well, I think it's important to be having these discussions too, because slowly, little by little, one little person at a time, I think we are creating happier people. If people are just overall doing what they love and working for the right company, even and they're happier, they're just going to spread that. So I think it's very important for us to discuss these topics of personal development, entrepreneurship, or just having the right fit of what we want for ourselves in life, because then we're going to be happier. The people we touch are going to be happier. So that's been kind of my mission, that's the bottom goal, right? Like, let's find a way, whatever talents we have, to touch as many people as we can to spread that happiness. And hopefully it will eventually reach those big leaders and then have a more happy, peaceful world.
I agree. And I love that. You are absolutely correct. We are all messengers. You are a messenger to spread, the word of love and peace. And then it helps the collective. It starts with us. Like, each one of us is a mustard seed, and then it ripples out. And so you're a messenger with your podcast, with your coaching, to spread that word. So I appreciate all you do, and I'm here.
Oh, same, right back at you. Because honestly, for a long time, I had a hard time. Like, I don't like politics. I don't even like to know what goes on in the world, because it breaks my heart, and I will sit and cry for all my life. So part of me has been ignorant to what's going on in the world a lot of the times, and honestly, but I found a way to work it out for myself. I was like, okay, but I do care, but I'm not doing anything about it. And then half the time I felt like, oh, I'm too small. Like, I have no say in, like, these leaders, like, I can't control it. Then it makes me more upset. Like, okay, I could donate money, but is it going to the right people, right? So all these thoughts have been in my head, but eventually I finally found peace by that. Hey, I may not be the person who's maybe stopping the world physically, right, or financially at that second, but we all make a difference slowly and slowly with our mentality, the way we touch other people. We all make a difference. So I finally found my peace with that, and I think it's important for people to know that we all do matter. Like, even however small we feel, with the little effort we put, it does have a domino effect.
Absolutely. And what you're doing, again, with your podcast, with your business as an entrepreneur, with your coaching, you are doing what's necessary to make a change. Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%. And I feel
Thank you for saying that. I think I mean, I found my answer, the way I could feel peaceful about if I'm doing enough to help the world. the current moment. But yes, it is a very challenging topic to think about,
Yes.
everybody and
Yes.
everything
And
that's going
again,
on.
you know,
So
this is what I
I do
share,
love that
what
answer.
I've
I wish
learned
we
the
had
hard
more peace
way.
in the
When you're
world.
working on yourself to be the best person you
Oh,
can.
right.
Did I lose you?
Yes, yes.
So when you work
No,
when you work on yourself to be the best person that you can and be of service to others, you are doing it. You are helping the world.
thank you for saying that. Okay, my next question for you will be, what has been your biggest challenge, either in personal life or in business? We talked about some hurdles you had to go through business, so maybe personally, what has been your biggest challenge that you had to overcome in order to be where you are today?
Yeah. So one of my biggest challenges, which continues to be a challenge, is managing my personal life as a mother, a sister, a wife, and being an entrepreneur, because I just want to go pedal to the metal in the business at all times. However, I'm also, have a personal life, and I'm a mother and a wife and a sister and a friend. And so that's been the most challenging, because I feel like I should be further along in my career. However, I need to integrate my personal life. And so being gentle with myself and reminding myself, like, this is a long game. I don't have to climb Mount Kilimanjaro in 24 hours.
I mean,
And
if you reached all your goals tomorrow, then you'd be so bored. You'd have nothing to work on.
you just hit it. And, I'm going to be, upfront. I did achieve all of the goals that I wanted to this point, so I would say last year. And I thought I was going to retire. And at that moment that I'm like, okay, wait a second, I achieved what I wanted to. Yegi, I felt bored. I felt lost. And I'm like, yeah, okay, no. So that's why I shifted, and I'm starting a new pillar of the business.
And that's the coaching?
Yeah. So I have been coaching for 10 years, but now I'm taking my coaching to the corporate sector. And I've also started to speak. So that's the different pillar.
That's excellent. Tell us more.
Thank you. Thank you. So the more is, again, I feel for myself when I'm doing something for so long, and then I feel like I've mastered it, although there's always room to grow, then I'm ready to take it to the next level. And so the next logical level for me was to bring my coaching to my corporate clients, one, and two, to begin, public speaking, which I've been speaking in the community for many years, but now I've been called
On a
to.
bigger scale.
Yes.
Tell us about public speaking. Now, it is a skill. It is first you got to want to do it, obviously, but there's a lot of technical sides to it and practice. And of course, skill. How do you feel about it? What gives you joy out of public speaking? Were you ever afraid of it?
Okay, so I was deathly afraid of public speaking, because I grew up in an environment where we were conditioned to worry what everybody said about you. So I was terrified of judgment, terrified. And when I started my coaching career 10 years ago, they said, for you to be successful, you really need to begin doing these Facebook Lives. And I said,
Okay.
oh gosh, no, like that's terrifying. Well, it came to a point where if you want to be successful, like, this is something that needs to be done. It took me 3 years to get
Wow.
comfortable to show up on a Facebook Live. And now I have my own podcast. So
What is your podcast called for our audience to
my
know?
my podcast is Real Talk with Grace Redman. And
Okay.
so if you would have told me 10 years ago that I would have a podcast and I would stream it live, because, when I first started it, I streamed it live, I tell you, you're crazy. So yes, I was terrified of showing up and being seen.
What gave you the encouragement to just go for it in your personal experience? Did you have to work on your confidence? Did you have to work on your look so you feel good on camera? Did you just say, I don't care what people think, I'm just going to do it? What was your kind of self-talk and your process to be able to feel comfortable in public speaking?
I just had to do it. And I started small. So I was with one of my coaching clients yesterday, and I let her know, this is, like I said, this is a long game. I'm always the turtle in the hair, but I always win. I always make it. And so what I did is I started very small. I started with a 60-second video. And then, okay, I'm like, okay, I did it. So we can do things afraid. And I feel like when we just do it, that builds the confidence. The reps build the confidence. And so then slowly I started doing these videos. And part of it is you do have to own your worth. And who cares what other people say? And when I learned that other people's judgment has nothing to do with me, it's about their own insecurities and they're projecting, that helped me tremendously.
Yeah.
And
I
so,
think that's really, really good point for all our listeners to make a note of, honestly. If you're afraid of what people are going to think about you, it has nothing to do with you. You just have to work on yourself and love yourself with what you are, who you are, what you look like, all your flaws and all, in order for you to really not care about what people think.
yeah, and it's hard. It's not easy to do, but that
No.
is a game that I've played, for the last 10 years because before that, I wasted so much energy worrying about what other people would say because I was raised that way.
Yes, it's really hard, but in a lot of like older, more traditional cultures, we are raised with these conditions of look perfect to the
Yep.
outside world, what are they going to think of us? And I personally had a struggle with that too, but I could see my mother, one more generation above me, like she really, really struggled with it. And me witnessing it too kind of opened my eyes. So, hey, like this is like a generational thing that we're conditioned to. Let's work on it,
Yes,
until you get to a point you're like, I don't care what people think, but it does take
exactly.
a lot of work. I had to do a lot of work and like get out of your comfort zone and do a little bit at a time until you could do more and more and it becomes easier and it does build confidence once you do it the first time, even though you're terrified, like, oh, I did that, like I just did that, let me sign up for the next thing that's out
Yes.
of my comfort zone.
Exactly. And that's how we cultivate our confidence is doing those things that we're afraid of and that are hard. And it's been a power game for me to get neutral to other people's judgment. And I had a situation come up last night actually, where I know that I disappointed the other person on the other line when I shared my belief about a certain situation. And
Okay.
for a moment I felt it. Like I felt like, oh my gosh, I disappointed them, but I was true to myself.
Yeah.
And that made me feel more empowered than worrying about what they thought. I was like, okay, that person's disappointed. That's their own perspective. Yes, I'm not going to tell you I didn't feel like, oh, that sucked.
Yeah.
I disappointed someone. However, I felt more proud of the fact that I was authentic to myself and I shared how I really felt.
Honestly, that's beautiful. We all need to work on that. I still have room to work on that
Me
because
too.
naturally, too, we want to be people pleasers. It's much more fun to
Yeah.
please people and everybody's happy, but it is so important for us to really know where we stand, what we believe. So, congratulations on
Thank
practicing that
you.
and achieving it. I still have room to work on that. So, sometimes what
Okay.
I found a workaround as an entrepreneur, I'm like, you know what? I need to hire the people in certain things where I don't have to say the no and it's their responsibility. They can say no because I want to make everybody happy, right? So,
I get
but
it.
it is so important to know where you stand. And
And I still struggle with that too, especially if I feel the person has narcissistic tendencies. I have a harder time to, express my authenticity because I just don't feel like being gaslighted and then
yeah.
I just move on. So it's it's situational, but
Yeah, and I guess pick your battles too. If it's not going to make a difference, I'm not going to argue with you, but at least I know where I stand and I'm
yes,
not going to be ashamed of saying no and
right.
protecting my beliefs.
Exactly, exactly.
Now, just for fun, what does your current day to day look like? So, you're working on your business, you're running a team, you're coaching people, you're working on public speaking, working with
Yeah,
corporate clients. How do you manage your family,
yeah.
kids? How do you manage it all? Any tools, any advice you have for our audience who maybe want to take on one extra project, but they're like, how do I fit it in?
So I'm constantly working on that. And recently I've had to do a reevaluation of my schedule and my life. And I've had to step back and make a decision like, okay, some things have to go on the shelf for right now. And I had to prioritize what are the main tasks for now. And that's not easy for me to do because having so many different pieces of the business, I want to work on everything at the same time, and that's not realistic. And so
Yeah.
what I would recommend is, pick one big project at a time because like for example, my keynote, once that keynote's done, it's on the shelf and I just go and pull it out. Right? We needed to hire a new staff member. Okay, well, I know that the next several weeks are going to be dedicated to helping bring that staff member up to par. So I can't do the other things. And you really need to be intentional with your time and your calendar. If it's not on the calendar, it's not going to get done.
Yes, yes, I've learned that the hard way too.
And what my day looks like, I typically wake up really early. I wake up between 4:30 and 5 o'clock most mornings.
Oh boy.
I know.
Yeah, when it's so dark.
And I'm gonna be, I've been, I was a little under the weather. I caught what was going around, and I told myself like it's okay, you can stay in bed. So we have to also take care of ourselves, and typically high performers typically wake up early. Not saying that you can't be a high performer and work late into the night, but typically based on my experience and working with my colleagues and clients,
Yes.
high performers are up early.
Yes, I think something about the sun and the initial energy we have in the morning, just with our body's rhythm. For a long time, I was telling myself that I'm not a morning person and all this, but it was just because I hadn't structured the rest of my day and evening properly.
Right.
But once I had to, because I have young kids and they naturally wake up with the
Yeah.
sun, I realized that, hey, that was just a belief I had. I am a morning person. I'm so much more productive and energized in the morning than me having to force myself to be energized in the evening. So yeah, that's kind of what I found too. We do have this natural energy, but if we ignore it or if we sleep really late or have bad eating and sleeping habits at night, then we're not going to know how well we could do in the morning.
Exactly. And all of those things are intertwined. And I really am focused on my emotional, spiritual, physical, mental, and financial fitness. And so I take actions each day to make sure that I continue to get fitter in all of those areas, because then I will be a better mother, a better entrepreneur, a better wife, a better friend. And
Absolutely.
it takes commitment, because I get up early and either I get my walk in or I go to the studio or the gym and I get a workout. But also before that, I meditate and pray.
Okay.
I connect with my husband. And then when I come back from moving my body, I do about an hour of work and then I get ready and I come into the office. But everything is scheduled.
Yes.
And, you said you're a mom with young kids. So I started prepping in my home on Mondays 13 years ago, and I still do it.
Oh, wow.
Because that way, on Monday, I take a few hours in the morning, get whatever I need ready for the week. That way, when I come home, like I either pop the lasagna in the oven because like you said, you have
And you
these
could be
kids.
more efficient with the rest of your week's schedule. So you found a way to kind of like meal prepping as one example of to
Right.
make things flow and move faster so you can have more time to work on all your projects.
Exactly. And so there's so many different, moving pieces, but one, if it's available to you, definitely hire help. Be very, diligent with your calendar and really be conscious of the distractions. How long are you spending, on a phone call gossiping? How long are you spending on social media? Be honest with yourself.
Yeah.
And the other thing is really who are the 5 people that you're surrounding yourself with? That's really going to also determine your success.
So for people who are kind of stuck with their people that have been around them, right? What would you advise them? How can they network? How can they get good quality, intentional friends or colleagues around them in order for them to maybe get inspired or in order for them to grow with their community? Where would they start? What do you think?
There's a few places that I would recommend starting. Online is amazing. I have some incredible online communities with high performers that have been game changing for me. And so find a group that's in alignment for you. Now, I know it took some time for me to find that because there's so many different groups out there. And the other way was I joined our local chamber of commerce, and so that helped me surround myself with, other business people. In business, we're going to be surrounded by so many different people. And when I talk about the five, that means like your most inner circle.
Yeah, so the people you even hang out with all the time or you spend most of your time with, either interacting virtually or physically.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Well, we are running short on time, so I'll ask you our closing question and where can people find you? So, what are the top 3 lessons you've learned in business or in life, however you want to answer it, that you wish you would know, or the top 3 best pieces of advice you can give our audience?
Well, one I think we already talked about is the most empowered person in the room is a person who takes nothing personal. And so I would invite you, when you feel like you're taking something personal, to step back and get curious, because I believe that when we ruminate and, question our worth or question our abilities, that takes way too much energy when you could be putting that energy into bettering yourself and bettering your business.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And we all are so guilty of that at some point until we
Yes.
get work through it.
Yes. And, the other piece of advice I would offer is really be honest with yourself. If there's an area in your life that isn't working, sit down, grab a notebook, and get honest. Because oftentimes, yes, there are so many things that are out of control, out of our control. However, what was your part in, this area of your life that's not working? And begin to rewrite it, begin to cultivate new habits.
Yeah, see what you could do about it. Don't just be upset about it.
Yes. And the third is don't quit. Like if you have a dream in your heart, it was put there for a reason. If it's in your imagination, I promise you it's possible, and don't quit. Find someone who's doing that. Find someone who's doing what you want to do and reach out to them and let them know, "Hey, I'm really interested in being a coach. Can I follow you? Can I have a conversation with you?" So go after your dream and don't quit, because if you feel like quitting, you're on the right path.
Yes, beautifully said. Well, thank you again so much, Grace, for your time. Please let our listeners know where can they find you and connect with you.
You can find me just Grace Redman, GraceRedman, and you'll find my website, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and you can also find me at www.daretoachieve.com.
Beautiful. And we'll link everything below. Thank you so much for our listeners for tuning in. And until next week, bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Grace. Thank you for listening. Please rate and review this podcast. Follow and engage with us on social media under the Yegi Project. And if you're interested in being a guest, email info@theyegiproject.com. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future episodes.